Welcome to the SJ Childs Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hi, and thanks for joining the SJ Childs Show. Today, I have a guest, Colleen Faul. Hopefully, I pronounced that all correctly. I should have asked you ahead of time.
It's fall, but that's okay. It's like the
fall.
season.
That's beautiful. I should have looked fall. I could have been a
Yeah.
little more phonetic there, but
No,
I'm sure
that's okay.
I grew up with a Gallagher was my maiden name, and that's tricky, and people never said it right or spelt it right. So guilty, right, of that. But it's funny. It's so nice to have you here today. I'm really excited about our conversation. Obviously, we instantly just get along from the moment we saw each other's faces. It was, laughs. And so I think this is going to be a really fun, great conversation today. So welcome.
I hope so.
Yeah. Tell us introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Colleen Keith Faul, and I am I said I was so excited to be here already, but
it's okay.
So
I'm double excited about a lot of things. We can do it together.
Well, awesome. So I am a wife and mother of two beautiful, very rambunctious toddlers, one of whom is blessed with special needs. She actually just got diagnosed with autism a week ago, on top of several other medical conditions that she has. And we found out about all of those about, a little bit over a year ago. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of since then that I have been on this whole special needs mom journey. And it has been quite a bumpy ride. It's been a crazy ride. But one of the beautiful blessings that has come of it is that it has inspired me to become an author, which I never would have done if not for this. And I wrote a children's book called God's Precious Gift, A Special Needs Child. And it's been a wonderful, successful story. And it's very inspired. It's very near and dear to my heart and it's a story about God's love for children with special needs and his love for their families and their parents and the grace he gives them to handle what's going on in their lives. And it just drives home that God has a plan and he doesn't make mistakes and we are all loved.
So. Absolutely. And it's so interesting when we find one another on these journeys and we can really be there, for one another, but also learn so much about each other. And I, on the other hand, always wanted to be a writer. I knew I always wanted to do it my whole life. I've wanted to do it. And I wrote 7 children's books about special needs as well. We need to talk
Yes, we do.
Yeah. And it's great because you didn't know that. I knew a little bit more about you probably than you knew, but it's so exciting to share because we both know that how vulnerable it can be to share our children's stories with the world. In both excitement that we're teaching and in fear of rejection or taking it harshly or anything like that. But I love that we're doing it with the intention of building that community and that love for our children that really just should be there. But we're softening our community with these types of things. So good job for doing that.
Thank you. Good job for you too. I did not know that you had written other children's books. I think that's amazing. That's wonderful.
It's
7 of them. That's super impressive.
Thank you. I have a few more. I just haven't focused on them as much and gone in, so someday the other things will come to fruition. But for now, that led me as the same thing you're doing to go on podcasts. And in that same sense, someone said, you need to start a podcast and here we are. So, it's all brought us to the right place on our journey. And congratulations and welcome to your autism journey from a fellow mom. And, I've been on this journey since about 2010. So it's been a little bit of a longer process and I've gone through so much and always here to share and help and provide resources and tools and tips and just any success and failures, right? We learn from others' failures as well.
Yes, we do. We learn from our own failures. So,
Hopefully.
yes.
If we're being wise, we will be learning
Yes.
from our own failures and more importantly, others there. But yeah. And it really having grace with ourselves in this journey, because you come up with things where you really internalize maybe society's idea of what raising a child looks like, or the idea of what it looks like to eat in a restaurant or go to, a movie theater or a whatever you want to say, basketball game. It's just now kind of training the people around us to have the same compassion that we've had to been, and I mean forced in a good way, to have to have for our children, because they have unique special gifts that can only be nurtured by someone who wants to have the perception and perspective to help them.
That's a very good point. They have to want to, they have to have the desire to have that perspective, because you can't force it on someone.
And it's hard, especially when you're dealing with, and I don't know if you've already, told grandparents or people in other, generations, and how hard that perception of what they thought of stigma of autism may be, and how wildly we are so much more educated now. I didn't want to say disrespect them for their ideas, but it's just we have so much more information. We have so much more perspectives. I myself found out just last May that I was on the spectrum, along with my husband and our 2 kids.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
And you got married and you didn't know that?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
I went through my whole life, had kids, got married, was 45 before I found out that this makes sense. This is why I'm so passionate and why I understand them, my family, so much.
You know what, though? You say that, and I think that is just so beautiful. And I think that is just amazing. And it's very, it gives a lot of hope for a lot of parents out there who have just been told by a doctor, hey, I think your child is on the spectrum. Like I was just told a week ago. And it gives so much hope of, you know what, they can still have a life, and they can still, this is not a death sentence, or I don't, that's a terrible way to say it.
I understand.
This is not an ending.
Yeah.
But it really is just a new beginning of something that is still beautiful and just as filled just as much with opportunity as everyone else. I think it's beautiful, and I take great hope and encouragement from that. Actually, that's wonderful.
It was about our child was diagnosed at 16 months. Sounds like around the same toddler age, kind of.
She just turned 21 months, so around the same age.
And it was not until he was 8 and we were in our, who knows what number of psychiatry visit and diagnosis process and things. And in that, I had, the test in front of me, the ADOS test. Fabulous. And I was doing this mental checklist going, oh my gosh, husband, yes, 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 yes. And it was so funny. I brought it to him and said, I am certain that you're on the spectrum. It makes so much sense now. I would refer to it as Asperger's. I understand that's not part of the DSM right now, but it makes sense to me and to him. And it's individual, right? It's individual.
Yeah.
To individual. So, it really opened my eyes to the accommodations I've been giving him for 20 years now. And thought, oh my gosh, okay, sleep patterns, eating patterns, social patterns. Yeah, these are matching up with a lot of my son's same things that we're trying to work on. And so
Yeah.
now I can ask him, number one, husband, like, what helped you? What would you have rather had help with? What could have helped better? Just really
Hmm.
get in there and ask questions.
And
And
he
then,
becomes the greatest resource your son
yeah,
is ever going to have.
how
Oh
incredible
my
is that?
gosh.
And we realize, okay, it's okay that everybody else is on their sleep schedule because they have work in the morning or school. But my son is homeschooled. I finally realized after years of medicating him to sleep that he is sleeping on a biological, like circadian rhythm. And I've got to
Hmm.
honor his own biology in this.
Hmm.
I honor my
Yeah.
husband's. I don't question if he comes home and takes a nap. I'm not like, oh, get up. How dare you take a nap, right? Or anything. Just let him do it. And so it's okay.
Hmm.
It's okay that I let my son have these same privileges, if you will, in the
Hmm.
world. And and not that there was any like fighting, but the family fight to get him asleep or go on
Oh,
vacation and
I
all of
know
the
all
things.
about that.
Yes, especially with two toddlers. But when we really kind of gave up trying to do that and just said, okay, we're going to support you in what you need, you show us the way,
Mhm.
it has been so successful. And it looks different
Oh.
for everyone, right? It looks different when people
Hmm.
look in and they say, how crazy is this? He's sleeping and it's 2 in the afternoon and he's going to wake up at 8 p.m. And then what? What are you going to do? Well, he's 13. He can get his own chips. He can get his water. He can listen to his music, watch his whatever show. And he's
Hmm.
okay. If he needs us, he can get us. He can come and get us. We're trained to, wake up. And at this point in time, it's like I hear him in the hallway coming, and I'm like, "Wait, how can I help you?" Kind of a thing. Oh, so it all comes with time.
That is wonderful and just and beautiful and enlightened and just I love every bit of that.
Oh, and I didn't mean to make it the SJ Child show literally, right?
Yeah.
But,
No, but it's
so
that's awesome and it's such a beautiful perspective to have as honoring your child's biology. I've never heard it specifically phrased that way, but I love that.
yeah,
That just honoring their biology because that really is what's going on. My daughter has a unique physiology, biology. She is unique in a very, very real sense, and her needs are unique. And you can't there is no one size fits all solution for her and like to honor what she needs, that is what I've been kind of like chewing on for the last
yeah,
week of since we got her since we got her diagnosis of just trying to figure out, okay, what is best for her, what does she need, and how can we best serve her and give her her best opportunities
yeah,
in life. And that is that it's a big question.
yeah.
It's the same question for every parent who has a child in this situation, but the answer is always uh, unique to that child.
Mm-hmm.
And so
So true.
there's no, I mean, there's everyone. It's a unique journey for
It is.
everybody.
Oh, that is so
But at the
true.
same time, for the parents, I find no matter how um, very, very different two sets of children and parents are, the parents' emotional journey is usually almost identical. I
Yeah.
find like they're just we all as parents go through the same thing, which
Mm-hmm.
is where that camaraderie comes up because we've all been through the same
Yes.
refiner's fire,
Yes.
just fighting for our babies. Like that is a real metamorphosis that you have to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And when as your journey continues and you're
Mhm.
already being such a big advocate, I mean, you're already taking such big steps in doing that. And for me, as when I started, it never stopped. So as you can see, it just grows and grows and becomes this huge passion. And
Mhm.
now I can share it with, my family. But not only that, is that it's created communities, which I'll definitely make sure you have all the information. Like on Facebook, I created
Mhm.
an autism support group that is just so beautiful
Mhm.
and supportive and what I would never have expected global. And the impact we can make telling our story and just sharing the good and the bad and the challenges with respect to everybody's journey is the best thing we can do.
Yes, it is. Oh my goodness. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Like we we started, I mean, the autism part of our journey is very new, it's very fresh, but our journey, my daughter, I mean, the diagnosis did not come as a shock. I mean, there were signs. We like, I mean, I got her evaluated because I thought that she was
Yeah.
autistic.
Yeah. Right.
This wasn't a surprise to me. But also, I mean, she's got other medical stuff going on. She has a genetic disorder. She's got something called tuberous sclerosis complex, which
Mm.
is a a condition where the gene on your sorry, yeah, the gene in your DNA that is basically responsible for regulating cellular growth has a mutation on it, and so it's malfunctioning. And then that causes your body to have all these random growths of cells that take the
Mm.
form of these benign tubers,
Oh,
not
wow.
tumors. I could be wrong on this. Someone's probably going to come and correct me on this. I think a tumor with an M is something that is cancerous, and a tuber
Okay.
uh, that is something that is benign, that is not
Yeah.
cancerous. I could be wrong on that, but
Yeah.
the doctors, they always refer to them as tubers, but no one knows what a tuber is. And then I look it up on Google, and it's like they use them interchangeably. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but these benign,
Wow.
non-cancerous tubers all over their body and all over their internal organs. They can show up anywhere in their brain, on their skin, and in their eyes, in their liver, you know, everywhere, and it never really stops. And the tubers themselves, like I said, they're non-cancerous, but depending on where they decide to show up and
Sure.
how many there are and how big they decide to grow, they can cause um, some
Discomfort
real, well,
and
not just
problems,
discomfort, health
probably.
problems. Yeah,
Yeah.
major health problems.
Inflammation from the body reacting to them around it. And
Hmm.
oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and well, and in my daughter's case, I mean, like autism, there's a spectrum of severity.
Interesting.
For there's people who will go most of their lives and never know they have it. They have no other complications for it, and except that they start growing acne on their face that they can't get to go away, and so they go into a dermatologist, and they're saying, "Hey, I can't get rid of this." That's not acne. Those are tubers on your skin. And that's how they
Mhm.
found out that they have tuberous sclerosis. But then there's other people, like my daughter, who have much more severe symptoms of this genetic
Mhm.
disorder. In her case, in Gracie's case, and I love how you were saying earlier, you just kept on saying having grace with each other. And my daughter's name is Grace. So,
Oh,
like,
I love
she's
that.
just so appropriately named. We didn't even know it.
Yeah.
But in my daughter's case, she's got at least 10 of these tubers in her brain, and they have caused
Goodness.
all kinds of developmental and
Yeah.
cognitive delays and complications. And
Mm.
so she is globally developmentally delayed. She's 21 months old now, but she's more like a 9 to 12 month old
Yeah.
um, in her like in her
Yeah.
development. And so she's on her own journey, but she's
Yeah.
beautiful. And I don't know, it's and that is what led to, like, these tubers in her brain led to another condition developing for her, which is called infantile spasms, which is a rare
Mm.
form of epilepsy.
Oh.
uh, where where she was basically having hundreds of seizures a day. And it was very, very scary. And I think that this is where every parent really connects with, of just how scary it is to find out that your child has a condition, like a life altering condition.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm sure you can relate to this. I'm sure people in your audience can relate to this, that all of a sudden there's this feeling of just like, what are we going to do now? And all these hopes and dreams that I had for my child, all of a sudden they're gone. These things we can't take for granted anymore, that we don't know how she's going to
Yeah.
develop. We can't, she's not, it's not us, we can't assume anything anymore.
Right.
um and it's a real, um it's a real time to, where you have to really walk by faith, and you really got to just trust in God's love on that one. And
Yeah.
it's a very hard journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, the camaraderie you can find in other parents and
Hmm.
we also have a global developmental delay diagnosis, not epilepsy, thank heavens. But I appreciate and understand how, you know, the world sees our children for the age or the height they are, or the weight they are, whatever. They don't see them for the challenges that they're going through, especially
Hmm.
when they're these invisible challenges that, oh yeah, DJ looks like a 13-year-old. Well, he looks more like an 11-year-old. His 11-year-old sister's taller than him. So it's like they reverse stages or something.
Hmm.
But autism, it definitely, if you talk to him for 5 seconds, you'll know.
Hmm.
And so it's like, um, let's just give everybody individual chance. And I was just on a
Hmm.
podcast earlier today and they said, what's a great tip you could give? And I said, teach your kids acceptance so early on, like when they're toddlers.
Yeah.
Teach them to be accepting of things that are different and to ask you questions when there's things that they don't understand, because a little bit of knowledge turns fear into understanding. And
Hmm.
we can help our community and our family members who don't understand as much by educating
Uh-huh.
and being gentle about that education. There's no way we
Yeah.
can force someone to understand something, especially if they're not in their right mind frame for understanding it at the time.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
always,
I
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, no, I definitely relate to that. We've had a couple of instances where with family members, like just this past Christmas, all the family got together, and I mean, Gracie has had her TSC diagnosis and her infantile spasms diagnosis for over a year now. So everyone knew that she had that going on, and they
Yeah.
knew that she was kind of on her own developmental journey. They knew that. But even so, we were at my in-laws' house, and we 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 deliberately did not decorate our Christmas tree this year, or last year I should say, because if there's anything on it that is dangly or shiny or
100%.
lights up, she attacks it. She was just gonna go after it. But we go to my in-laws' house and they have a fully decorated tree. And so naturally, she wants to explore this tree that
Yeah.
has all kinds of fun looking stuff on it. And there are adults in the house who are saying, Gracie, don't touch the tree, come away. And she doesn't, and she's not listening. And like we got comments on the end at the end of the night of like, you really need to discipline her more. Like she doesn't listen. And I'm just like, I had to bite my tongue a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like, you clearly do not understand
Yeah.
what is really going on here. And it was like, there's, it was a great reminder of how much grace is needed. Not just that we need to give our children grace and we need to have grace on each other, but we also need to have grace on everyone else around us. And
Yeah.
that was because in that moment I actually got really mad, but I had to kind of like, rein that in a little bit. And let myself sit with that. But then also, like, the person saying it, was coming from a place of ignorance.
Yeah.
And and that is something, ignorance can be addressed,
Yeah.
especially now. I think it's going to help a lot now that she does have an autism diagnosis, because
Yeah.
people kind of generally at large at least are aware of what autism is,
Yeah.
somewhat they have a general
It's
idea
a
of the
growing
word.
word in the
Yes.
in the world, right?
Yeah, which is great,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. But when I find that when people hear autism, like no one knows what TSC is, no one knows what infantile spasms is. But when I say autism, people kind of like they get, oh, okay, so they expect this child to not behave like everyone,
Exactly.
like all the other kids are. They
Yeah.
expect her to be a little bit on her own, like just doing her own thing. And that helps so much. I love
Yeah.
that our society has grown a little bit in that direction, which is
Yeah.
great that there's understanding there. But there's still a long way to go, even within my own family, on just like an individual basis of understanding each individual child. In my case, in my daughter, and helping our family members to understand my daughter better. So it's a journey. That was part. I think that was part of the journey that I wasn't expecting, really,
Hmm.
because I was so inundated with figuring out what was going on with her and wanting to understand everything and trying to figure out what she needed and where her abilities were, that it kind of didn't really even click with me that my other family members, my extended family members, weren't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, I was like, oh, we're family. Don't we all know this? Like, no, we have our own lives.
Yeah.
We're doing other stuff. Like, we're in another town. We're like, we get your texts and stuff, but there's a lot of gaps there. And
Definitely.
and that is a place where I need to recognize that I need to show grace to other people.
Yeah.
So, both my daughter and actual grace to
Absolutely.
other
Right.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so true. And we really, I love that you said that too, because we kind of, well, we really, really grow, not even kind of, we really grow on this journey as human beings and as parents. Like I said, when we are dedicated and passionate and involved with our children. And it's really important. And this is great, probably because it's new for you to know that, like, make sure you're always taking time for yourself, like self love, fill your cup, even
Yeah.
if it's as simple as like the other day I came in and my husband just put like 80s live on or something and I was dancing and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. This is making me feel so good." But I take it for granted. I don't turn it on every day. Why not? Well, it's fun. Like I should be, I should be like doing things like that for myself to fill my cup and to like energize, re-energize myself and make myself feel better. So good thing to remember right now for you is to
Yes.
just always keep putting yourself first
Mm-hmm.
on this journey so
Yeah.
that you can give them all your all.
I like to I like to use the analogy of the rule on the airplane of put your own
Mm-hmm.
mask on before you put the mask on someone else.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, I completely get that. That was kind of where um the beginnings of my book kind of became, or kind of started, because I again, my book is it's basically my story, or my family's story. It's a children's fiction book, but it's a true story of the of just, a mom and a dad who find out that their child has special needs. And I don't say autism or tuberous sclerosis in there. It's very broad language, so it can
Mm-hmm.
apply to anybody. But it's they find out that their child is going to be a very special child who has needs that most kids don't have. And the journey that I was on at the time was very I was very worried. I was still very much in that, what is my child going to need, and do I have what it takes to be that, to fill those needs?
Yeah.
And in the book, the parents take this to prayer, which I did, and Jesus in the book comes and actually has a conversation with the parents. and talks to them. And they're praying just God, they're praying for a miracle. And they're praying, God, please just fix our baby. Just fix our baby. And Jesus comes and says, fix her, but she's already exactly the way I chose to create her. And he asks, do you think I make mistakes? And the answer is no. God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't. He gave because he loves these parents so much. He chose them to be the parents of such a special child as this because he knew that they were exactly the parents that this child needed. And he knew before they were ever even born that this child was going to be theirs. And he has been preparing them for her their entire lives. And there's just a lot of comfort and changing of perspective and reassurance and love there that Jesus just helps to just change their entire viewpoint on this. And by the end of it, they come to see that our daughter, the way she is, special needs and all, is a gift for us, that she is going to be an avenue of grace. She is going to be our path to heaven. By caring for her, we will be caring for Jesus. As Jesus says, when you did this for one of the least of me, one of the least of these, you did it for me. By caring for her, we'll be caring for Jesus. And that is how we will grow in grace and virtue. And that will be our way to grow closer to God. And she will be, I love, this is my favorite page in the book. There's a page in there where Jesus is saying, like, he tells them, do not forget, this child that I gave you is already so loved by me. I love her even more than you do. And that's a lot. And because I allowed her body to be so special, I made sure that her heart and her mind and her soul were, that her heart and her soul were special too. And she will have an easier path to heaven than the path that most other people take. And it's just like, I think God gave me the idea for this book as an answer to my own prayer, because I was praying a lot of the prayers that these parents were praying. I'm sure you can relate. And the answers, I wasn't thinking this. It was like after I'd written down, it was like someone else had written it. I didn't know where this came from, but God sent it to me. And so you were saying self-love and putting yourself first. I was trying to care for myself because even though I never thought I'd be a writer, even though I have always had a creative streak in me. I have always enjoyed making things, doing things that I could see at the end of it. And it was like, I would make diaper cakes or I would make things. I like making things. And so I was trying to kind of just de-stress and take care of myself. And I got the idea for this book. And then I don't want to say it wrote itself, but I literally woke up in the middle of the night one night with the idea for it. And then after that, it just had to be made. That was where it came. And when you care for yourself, whenever you allow yourself to be your best self, God works through that. And there is he will work through you to care for your child. And when you care for yourself, he will work through you there to care for others, even by just caring for yourself. It's amazing how God uses everything to bring light and beauty, even when you weren't trying. You don't have to be a part of the planning process. He'll do it just if you let him.
Right.
Great.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I have to say that my brain is burning with this thought. But it was on Young Sheldon. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Okay. It was where Sheldon was trying to become more, I think it was like Albert Einstein or something. And he couldn't embrace why he couldn't be more like this and more like this. And he went to the pastor and the pastor said, when you finally are there, do you think he'll say, oh, you did such a good job being Albert Einstein? Or will he say, why didn't you take the time to just be you? And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's such a perfect message. Like, just be you in this life. And for our kids, help them to just be themselves and like embrace who they are. And on the journey that we're at, teach your family and your communities how they can be more supportive and more understanding and, um, be at the same time gentle with them in their learning process, because sometimes that can be a difficult process for them too.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And so I hate to, finish it off there with the Sheldon clip, but he just kept reminding me of that, of him saying, you don't need to
Yeah.
be like someone else. You just need to be who you are at the end of the day.
Yeah. Because God went to a lot of trouble to make you that way. And how boring would it be if there were two of you
Yeah.
or two of someone else? If you didn't
Yeah.
even get to be yourself, you were somebody else the whole
Yeah.
time. Like that would
Exactly.
be like it, he made you because you are what the world needs. Exactly as you were made to be. So that is, and until you embrace that, until you start living as who you are, you're never gonna find that joy and that content, that contented feeling of being yourself, being at peace
Yeah.
with yourself. That's never gonna happen until you embrace who you are,
Yeah.
which is exactly who God made you to be.
So
So
do it. Okay, listeners. No questioning things. It's such an
Mhm.
honor and a pleasure to meet with you today and talk to you. Before we go, let us know where we can go to find the book. If you have a website or social medias to find you.
I do. So I do have a website. It's called God's Precious Gift, a Special Needs Child. Sorry, that's the name of my book. The website is called www.godspreciousgift.com.
Okay.
Godspreciousgift.com. You can buy the book there. You can buy other merchandise that I have on there. You
Oh,
can read
good.
all about my daughter and myself as the author and prayer intentions that we have. You can also buy the book on Amazon, although I would strongly recommend your audience to go to my website because I make more revenue as the
Right,
author there.
absolutely.
But you
Author.
can
Yeah.
you can buy it on Amazon as well. And you can find me on Instagram at Colleen Keefe Fall, and you can find me on Facebook at Colleen Keefe Fall Author. So,
Okay,
yep.
wonderful. Well, I'll be sure to go and follow you in all those places too so that we can stay connected.
Yes,
And
please.
I'd love for you to join our group of advocates, and just
Yes.
we'll keep up this good work that we're doing out in the world. So thank you
I
so
would love
much for
that.
your time today.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch for sure.
Okay.